Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 38 of the Resurrected A Winner's You podcast. As ever, my name is David and my name is David. My name is David and I am sitting 726,000 miles across from Mr. Alex Aldridge. How are you doing today, Alex?
Hello, you maidenless tarnished. How you doing?
I was trying
What
to
an
say,
insulting game, really, isn't it?
yeah. Haha, you've got no bird. Carry on, mate.
Disgustingly tarnished man.
Where's your girlfriend, you loser?
Yeah.
You big nerd.
Says the weirdest looking bloke in the whole game, probably.
Yeah, they've got... None of them have got girlfriends. Absolutely none of them.
I think that concept's well lost.
Yeah.
Well lost. Even more lost because of the fact that... we'll have some banter, don't worry, loyal listeners. The bullshit chat's coming. But just as a preface to this podcast about Elden Ring, we will not be covering the lore because we can't be fucked to read it.
No, it's too much. If you want Elden Ring lore, please go somewhere else. In fact,
yeah, Varti Video is where you need to go. I'd
actually say, if you want any sort of, you'll get some interesting hot takes maybe from us. But if you want actual in-depth, intelligent, teased apart, I think we can do that in some of our podcasts. This ain't going to be the one. This is not going to be the one.
No, come to us another time.
Mm-hmm. Come back later. Go for a coffee.
You know, right. I don't know why I'm going to interject this, just because it's in my head. The song's in my head. I was watching a video about it briefly earlier while Cassie was sitting around drooling all over me or whatever it was that she does these days. I want to do a podcast about Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins on the Game Boy. Throwing that out there.
Why not? Yeah, I'm up for anything.
Doubleheader.
Just add it to
Mario
the
games.
extensive list that we seem to have found ourselves in at the moment that we're trying to slowly work our way through. But yeah, I'm keen for that. Whatever. Yeah. Any game that unless it makes me want to kill myself.
Well, this game would make you want to kill yourself if it wasn't killing you.
Do you know what? Do you know what? After I had a rant to you at lunchtime about this game, and then I turned it off, did some work, and then turned it back on and started playing it again. I've downloaded. I've got Weird West that I'm enjoying. I've downloaded Rogue Legacy 2 that I definitely want to get into.
Oh, that's going to be a podcast.
Has to be very soon. Has to be. And then there's other games I want to play as well, and have been playing, and I've got games to be playing for the magazine. Yet the game I moaned about for an hour solid today was the game I went back to. So this is like I was saying to you for listeners of the podcast that were not watching me angrily shout at my screen. I hate this game as much as I love it. Given the day, not even given the day, given the direction of the wind at every given second, I can go either way on it. I've never been so conflicted by a game ever, I don't think.
I'm not actually sure if you ended up getting really annoyed by this, but when I went back to watch your stream earlier at work, I noticed that you were trying to find Church of Rose, and you didn't Google it. You basically went icon by icon across the map. You found it to the point where I had to skip it because I just thought he's never going to find this.
I've got a weird...
I had to find it. Please tell me you found this at some point. It's not just a map screen for the rest of the hour-long stream.
I don't know if the word is arrogance, but see when I'm looking at a map or I'm looking for something and I've got absolutely no idea where it is, I always back myself to be able to find it. I don't know why. I'm just like...
The stupidest thing is if you hadn't found it in the game... If you'd not actually stumbled across it in the game board, it wouldn't have been on your map.
Yeah, it wasn't. I had to... Yeah, I did eventually... because I hadn't found it.
Oh, for fuck's sake. That was well funny. It went on for so long. I was shouting at it like, go, no, you're going in Caelid now. It's the wrong way.
When I'm playing Elden Ring, I've got the habit of forgetting that I am streaming because peek behind the curtain, I was supposed to be working today when I was streaming, and I'm
Is anybody from your work listening to this?
Well, I'm taking a big risk. No, they're not, but I'm taking a big risk in streaming, but I don't know, all my colleagues are middle-aged women with kids, so I think I'm fairly safe.
I'm probably not very safe, but I'm also don't care because I've got a new job. So
you've got one foot out the door.
We had a town hall meeting today.
What's that?
So, right, let me take you through the beginnings of my working day today.
Is that like a
Because
toolbox
they
talk?
can't find me now because I already quit. I woke up. Well, I went to bed quite late last night. Cassie woke me up quite a few times. Probably not as many as the wife. So I was really tired this morning. I wanted to use my snooze button, but Rach has already decided that that is banned. I'm not allowed to use snooze anymore because it's really loud, my alarm, and it would just continually wake the baby back up again.
Fair.
So after she knew I'd pressed it, because she turned round
Have
to
you
me in
got
the bed, was like,
what's your alarm noise? Have you got a song?
"Yeah, do you
Because
want to hear it?"
yeah. Well, before you play it though, I just want to say like because I used to put a song on as my alarm, but I just got a feeling that no matter what song you pick for your alarm becomes like the
Really
song that
annoying.
gives you PTSD. Yeah, like you hear it, you cannot even if you're on a night out or you're at a friend's house, you can't have that song coming on. It
See,
ruins whatever song you're going to pick.
that is why I'm pretty safe, because this will never come on anywhere I go. It's this, which is Hyper Potion's version of the file select music in Mario 64.
Ah,
It used to be, it used to be the morning music for Zelda, like for
mm.
Ocarina of Time. You know, it's like diddly 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 diddly. So I thought that's perfect wake up
Yeah.
music, and then I really hate it because it'd be in my head every. Far, still funky enough. And sometimes if Rachel's already awake, she'll come in and start dancing to it. So it's all good. So yeah, that went off. Rach rolled over and was like, "You've not pressed snooze, have you?" And then I obviously admitted that I did. So she reminded me that was bad. That's a banned behavior
Naughty
in this
Alex.
house. So luckily, that back and forth discussion about me wanting to use snooze just once woke me up anyway. But I was still really tired because I had a shit night's sleep. So I thought to myself, we have a meeting at 9 o'clock. It's getting to be about 8:30 now. I'm not in any. I've not had any rush this morning, so I am going to have the meeting at home. Then I'm going to go into the office. But then I realised that the meeting had been cancelled. So then I just went in, and then when I got there, I realised that the reason it had been cancelled is because GHD, the PA to the CEO of GHD, was hosting a town hall meeting, like a global town hall, which is just like here's some stats or whatever. So my boss cancelled our meeting, sent me a link to this one. And when I spoke to him later in the day, he was like, "Oh, did you join that town hall meeting?" And I was like, "No." So why not? I was like, "I couldn't give less of a shit what she's got to say. What do I care?"
What?
And he just
Yes.
laughed and went, "Well, at least you're being honest." I was like, "I haven't cared anyway for a long time, but certainly not now I'm in my notice period.
You're just,
Fuck how
yeah.
much money you make."
You're like, yes, this is how much profit you're making, and this is you're not paying me enough. So
Well,
congratulations.
that was actually the straw that broke the camel's back. After they gave me a 1% pay rise, then 2 days later did a town hall saying that they'd grown by 15%. I fucked them off forever. Just thought this is actually an insult to me. So I'm not listening to you talk about this anymore.
Yeah,
Couldn't give less of a
surely
fuck.
if they've grown by like 15%, my assumption there is they've increased their profits. Like
They made 50 million or something on some
15%
bullshit.
larger. So even if they gave you a 15% pay rise, would they not still make a 15% profit? So they're making more than a 15% profit because they're not bringing their outgoing costs up by 15%.
No.
Does that make
Even
sense?
if they gave me 15%, it wouldn't be 15% of their revenue.
No.
It would be like 0.001 probably.
No, little bastards.
So that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I thought I no longer care about the progress and the profitability of this company because it never comes back to me. So I was really annoyed I couldn't decline it. I've taken a real joy out of openly declining invitations to town hall meetings.
No.
Yes.
Take your town hall and
Send
stick
a
up your
response
ass.
as well. Not even hide the response. Don't send the response or whatever. No, I'll send the response. You can see that Alex has denied this and declined the meeting, and you will see him sat at his desk, probably watching David stream Elden Ring instead of being at the meeting. Fire me. What are you gonna do?
I just love how like my jobs post university are disappointingly uneventful in comparison to yours. Like there's been funny things that have happened.
Well, no
There's
one's been hit in the face with a coffee tin.
the
That's
exact.
for
I
sure.
think
Not
that's the
your
peak.
jobs.
I'm not sure. I think that's maybe more entertaining than most things anyone's ever seen in a workplace. Someone just like proper like WWE trash can to the face.
Well, apparently the guy was kind of moneyed as well. So
You're gonna have to tell the story now because
Yeah.
I'm half describing someone get a biscuit tin off the noggin, and people are like, "What? What is that?"
So yeah,
This is your legendary story, like me and Tony's wee porn.
Yes, which will have to be on another episode because I don't think it's come around this
Not in this guys, no.
Yeah. So yeah, the guy he's a bit of a wiener really, but gave it the big one. He'd always send me messages, like horrendous messages that would get anybody fired. Like if somebody even vaguely attractive, not even vaguely attractive, doesn't matter. If they were female and they sat on a seat and they were wearing a skirt, he would message me something about how he'd have to go smell the seat or something like really heinous shit.
Okay.
So I knew he was a rotter.
Absolutely.
And a wrong
sniffer.
And one day he went off to make me and him a coffee, and there was another one of our team called Michael, who I actually quite.
Oh wait, so you were directly involved in this dismissal?
Perhaps if I hadn't have asked for the coffee
sent him off the edge. Yeah. If you had never taken a coffee off this man, would he potentially still be employed, or was he going to make himself a coffee? So you're only 50% involved.
Yeah. It's 50-50. So he goes in there, and I don't remember the all of the precise details of it, but something like he'd said something to this other guy who then like maybe tapped him on the shoulder or like shoved him as a joke, like "I'll shut up" kind of thing. Then he decided his response to this was to pick up the coffee tin, the Nescafe Azera coffee tin, and hit the guy in the face with it. Not the the length, not the sort of width way, the length.
Oh, that's
the smaller, harder end.
That's
not
worse.
side on, so like that. So yeah, if you talk about your phones like this, that way.
Because if it had bent, I would have quite liked to steal the bent tin and just keep it on my desk as a memento.
I did take a picture of it. I still do have a picture. We can probably do it for the podcast listeners.
Stick it in the
the YouTube watchers.
Oh yeah. If you're scrolling back through, mate, we're going to be here for a while.
Yeah, I know. I don't know who was the last person I sent it to.
That's years.
It is years. I was with Rachel at the time, so it can't be too far back now.
I'm trying to think what guys of our winners would that have been, the regular podcast?
What I have found though is that when somebody went to the toilet and left their computer unlocked, I sent them a picture, and then I sent a picture to his email, opened his emails on his machine, and then made that picture his desktop background so that his computer when he came back looked like that. Which is, for the listeners, a horrendous picture of me.
We used to do that in my last job, but it was always Willem Dafoe.
Oh, it was always David Hasselhoff in IT.
There was a picture of Willem Dafoe trying to look super sexy in a hoodie that we used to just put on everybody's PC. Whenever you came back from holiday, you'd know there'd be a Willem Dafoe on your desktop.
The best one I've ever seen was somebody basically hid the taskbar. I can't find the picture. Somebody basically hid the taskbar, but having already taken a screenshot of the background of the machine, then hid the taskbar, hid all the desktop shortcuts, and left it, and then set the background as a screenshot of how it looked before. So when they came back, none of the desktop shortcuts worked. The taskbar wasn't working because it was just a picture.
Good.
Yeah, it was really good.
That's
when you know you're getting fucked by the IT guys.
Yeah, that's
the
a
IT
good
guys
one.
are thinking about it.
What we used to do when we were at school in IT, I'm sure everyone did this because but it's still really fun. I don't care how low hanging fruit is when someone would go, you know how in IT or whatever computing you did at school, it'd basically be rows of computers. Someone would go to the toilet, and while they're at the toilet, you'd unplug their mouse and then plug it, so you'd leave their mouse plugged in, but you'd put it on your desk, and then you'd put your mouse on there and unplug it, but leave it round the back so that they come back, and then they'd be moving their mouse about, trying to click on things, and you'd be opening stuff and
yeah, that's great. I can't remember why, but two people in my office at my current job were away at the same time, so I swapped the monitor cables around so that they would be looking at each other's monitors. I understand what's
That's
going on.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I can't remember where we were at with that, but they didn't seem to find it very funny when I got back as well. I was like, did you see anything going on with your computer the other day? They're like, yeah, you switched the monitor.
The only time it's not,
Yeah.
I was going to say the only thing it's not funny, it like I would say it strays into borderline pain in the ass. Is dependent. Like you're an IT company, so probably like you're working in IT, so probably not. But even in 2022, I've had jobs. Well, not 2022, but even in the modern day, I've had jobs where you've got to have the little screws in the back
of VGA cables.
The VGA cables, yeah, they're a pain in the dick. Those ones to try and get in and out.
Yeah,
sitting in the back, screwing it
as well.
And
yeah,
you're not.
What's that?
Oh my god, hate those
so yeah,
things.
it was definitely effort for those two.
Why do you need to screw them in? Like, what's the problem?
That is an excellent question. Please, people write in podcast. No, hang on, that's the Segamania one. What is it? A winnerreviewpod@gmail.com.
Me, I don't know.
A winnerreviewpod@gmail.com. Tell us why you have to screw a VGA cable in, and sometimes DVI as well. I don't understand that.
I've never seen a screwed in DVI. I do like a DVI cable though. I'm a big fan.
You're living in the past. You live in analog, mate. You need to get digital on the ass.
Is it DVI? Maybe not DVI. What's the? It's like an HDMI, but slightly different shaped.
That's DisplayPort.
Oh no, that's DisplayPort. I'm all about.
Yeah, we use a lot of that now.
Because HDMI,
they're much
this is probably the wrong terms, but I find the handshaking on HDMI a bit funny. Like so many occasions, if you don't have signal to an HDMI port, unplug it and plug it in, and it works. It works.
Mm.
Whereas like that's the only input I've experienced that has that issue. Just pull it out and put it back in again. It's usually fine. Like when we were doing like OG or Winner Review while we were at uni and we were trying to capture a video game.
Yeah.
Gameplay. Like so often you're like, why is it not working? Pull it out, put it back in the capture card again. It works.
That's true.
It's HDMI. I think it's I don't think it's a good input in my opinion. But I'll take it over.
And you can't trust it. You can never trust that it's going to be 4K. No. You can never really trust you're going to get HDI 2.1. And people say that they're selling you that, but they're not. They're lying.
It wasn't until the new Xboxes? There was a period of Xboxes. I remember listening to the Xbox guy. What's his name?
Not Major Nelson.
Agent 47. No, it's not Major Nelson. It's the other one. That always likes to wear a Converses and a leather jacket. But anyway,
everybody loves him, don't they?
Yeah, people are shouting at it. But I'll carry on. People are shouting at their wherever they are, maybe just hopefully in a train, just man. Screaming.
I've googled Xbox man. Phil Spencer.
Phil Spencer, yeah. They were talking about how they were really, really proud of their HDMI tech that they had when in the cables that they were giving away Xboxes. That was the first, and then when 4K came along, it was the first time I realized no, an HDMI cable is not an HDMI. Like all HDMI cables are not equal. There are good ones and there are bad ones. And that was
something to do with there's a number on it that you can read, like a little number that's written on the cable. Sometimes apparently if that's got certain digits in it, it's 4K and sometimes it's not. But I think it was. You're probably thinking of like Xbox One X was a rough time.
That's maybe that.
PS4 Pro, where they were difficult. They didn't come with like a 2.1. They came with 2.0 or whatever. So yeah, that was annoying. You know what? This is going to be the most random thing I'm ever going to say in my entire life. When you were talking about being at school and kids, when somebody went to the toilet, I had a flashback.
Maybe you had to ask when you needed the toilet.
Yeah, I had a real flashback to when I was at would have been junior school, so that's like year 3 to 6, ages I don't know, 5 to 7. No, 7 to 11. 7 to 11.
Wait, so you're year 7. What age is 7 to 11? So in Scotland, that is primary 3 to primary 7.
That's basically the same. Year 7.
My primary 7 is your first year, right? At secondary school.
Correct.
Because you only do 6 years primary school, whereas we do 7 years primary school, 6 years secondary school.
Yeah, we leave at 11.
Okay.
So I would have been between the ages of 7 and 11. And I was in the toilet. And a guy came in. I believe his name was Craig. And he came into the toilet.
Craig. Did I tell you about him? Sorry.
No. Say there it is. There's your bingo card, everybody.
Bingo card. Alex smacks the mic.
I sit so close to it, that's why.
Yeah, I went to school with a guy called Craig.
That's pretty amazing. It's like Neville, isn't it?
Yeah.
His parents are shit. What an arsehole his dad is for letting that slide. So this guy called Craig, I'm not going to say his surname because he might murder me. He walked into the toilets and right in front of me, whipped out his dick, pissed in the drinking fountain, then drank out of it, then left.
That is like that is psychopath stuff. That is.
I grasped him the fuck up immediately.
Of course you did.
In fact, no, I didn't. You didn't. Somebody else did.
Were you scared? Oh, was it up? This was like a
there was
show and tell, was it?
A third person in there.
Yeah.
And so I then had the teacher come up to me, and I don't know why it's just so vivid. And I was like 7.
Because it's mad.
The teacher comes up to me, and he's like, "Now, Alex, sometimes we have to tell the truth, even if it means we get a friend of ours in trouble. So I'm going to want you to be honest with me here.
He doesn't know he's speaking to you.
Did you see Craig urinate in the drinking fountain?" And I went, "Yep." I'd have told you anyway. Yeah, I didn't need the speech about grassing him up. I'll fucking grass him right up. I've seen a man's dick, and he pissed where I drink. I will grass him up to you. Of course he fucking did it. He's mental. He got alopecia in the end. Maybe that's karma. Maybe that's from drinking piss water. Maybe that's the secret.
Could be, yeah.
Maybe John Joe Shelby's pissed in a drinking fountain and drank that as well. Who knows?
Like, to channel our inner Donald Trumps, we're just asking the questions. We're not saying it's fact. We're just standing here asking the questions.
Does drinking your own piss give you alopecia?
Yeah, does it? Have we investigated that? Do we need to get our top scientists on this?
Look, don't come at me, alopecians. I lost it the natural way as well. I'm on your side. I just didn't drink Craig's piss.
You may have done.
That's a different.
You
Craig.
may have done if that man makes it a habit of that. If that was a one-off, you're safe. If he is doing that, that was just the one time you happened to see it.
Right, this is getting really disgusting now. That toilet was an absolute haven of like illogical behaviour. Another instance that happened, and this is God's honest truth, is another man called Darren, who later on gained the nickname Tunnel Man.
Darren.
Because he was in the tunnel somewhere near the ramps, near the skateboard ramps, pissed, and he came out of the tunnel. Everyone thought he'd gone home, and then he just appeared out of a tunnel, so for everyone he was Tunnel Man. He once told me, "Oh, mate," fucking hell. I just need to prepare myself to say this. He told me, "Mate, if you pull your foreskin back, your piss stream comes out harder, and you can piss over the..." Because this was a urinal that had a wall that didn't go all the way up to the ceiling.
He's probably right.
So he showed me an example of, and he just pissed over the wall into the cubicle that was on the other side of the wall. I think there was someone in there. I'm not sure, but he's like only because I tried to do it, but I didn't have the right stream. He's like, you got to pull your foreskin back. Otherwise, the stream's not powerful enough to go over the top.
That is a life lesson. And ever since, Alex, if you ever need a bit more power in your stream, get that foreskin straight back.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, circumcised guys, they've been pissing over walls for decades.
Yeah, exactly.
But at least Tunnel Man had done something that it required thought.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's pissing on someone else's head. He's not pissing and then drinking from where he's pissed. You know, Craig was just a idiot, just a moron, a fucking cretin, a piss drinking cretin. Whereas Tunnel Man at least is some kind of scientist. He's worked out the angles
exactly. Tunnel Man
and propulsion theory, piss propulsion theory.
Tunnel Man has worked it out.
Yeah, he did, and then he lived in a tunnel, and then he worked at Rainbow till he was in his mid-20s.
Co-op? What is Rainbow?
Sorry, co-op. Co-op.
Why do you call it Rainbow?
I don't know. We still call it that. It's not called Rainbow. It hasn't been called that for about 10 years.
Has it ever been called Rainbow?
In St. Neots, there's one down the road from where I lived. Yeah, it was called Rainbow, and then they changed it to co-op. It was always a co-op, but they called it Rainbow. I don't know why. He worked there till he was in his mid-20s.
The only Rainbow group I know of, and I don't know if you get them in... You must get them in England. Like, you know how you get... If you're a boy when you're a kid and you go to these clubs, you go to Cubs, then you become a scout.
Rainbows is like girls,
Rainbows is pre-guides, right?
Yeah.
So I remember my sister, when I was younger, going to Rainbows, and the Rainbow uniform was just like a dinner lady's apron.
Yep.
It was like...
Brown?
Yeah.
Or was that America?
That was maybe America. Tamara's was red. She used to wear this red apron that would look like she was a dinner lady.
Your sister's called Tamara?
Yeah, and then you just... do you know what's weird about my sister being called Tamara? I'm not sure if she listens to this.
Was it you're called David.
I have got such a middle of the road name.
Mm.
Yeah, my mum has
That's not like
gone.
my
My mum has
parents.
gone full mental with my sister's name. Yeah, it's
Well,
really
my
odd.
sister's called Leanne with a Y in it, so me and you are the same because she's your younger sister, right?
Yeah,
So both our parents gave us relatively normal
yeah. They
names,
had the
and then
first kid and thought, right, we're going to do this right, and we're going to do this properly. We'll give, we'll bring them up properly. We'll teach them rules. We'll teach them how to look after themselves. We'll be
teach them never to
strict.
piss where they drink.
We'll make sure they encounter someone that knows the foreskin rule, and then we will give them a normal name and set them up for life.
Yeah,
Second kid,
but if we have another
apparently
one,
the gloves are off.
yeah. Oh, my sister, I think it's cool, but she hates it.
Loose
Because Leanne
cannons.
is a name that she gets misspelled everywhere, and she can
Well,
never buy like a little name tag badge thing for any of that.
so
You
this
know, a
this
mug.
this actually leans into that as well. So like the normal spelling of Tamara has Tamara,
Yeah,
and my mum just for the fun of it added another M. So she's got Tamara as Tamara.
that's so mad that both our parents did weird spellings with our sisters'
My
names.
mum's logic for this apparently was that now that my mum's added another M, she's okayed the general public to give her nickname Tammy that absolutely nobody calls her by.
Why didn't you just call her Tammy herself, like we've done with Cassie?
Apparently, if you're going to call Tammy, you must have double M. Otherwise, otherwise society will not stand for it.
Yeah, they will revolt, and that kid will be hung, drawn, and quartered.
Well, exactly.
While a tunnel man pisses on him from over the other side of a wall
Yeah,
with his foreskin pulled back.
what a superpower that is.
I could never manage
It's
it.
not a superpower though, because he just passed the knowledge on. He's just like some sage that you met in like some like toilet sage.
Was I like Rob into his piss Batman?
Yeah, I was thinking like you're more like his, like he's more like your Splinter. To your like if you're the Raphael.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Just a little
Yeah,
rat
I'll
in the
take that.
bathroom beside a pipe, pissing over a bathroom cubicle.
And then I went back into my shell and left, which
Yeah.
works. And I like pizza.
Forever changed by your knowledge. A knowledge that once you learn it, I suppose, you'll never be the same again, much like Elden Ring, right?
Well, I've got more piss talk if you want.
Yeah, let's wind it back. Let's just carry on pissing into the wind.
So I need to ask you this question as man to man, and listeners get involved. So I, when I was in Aberdeen, we were all very drunk. I believe this may have even been during
I've known you, what, 14 years
This
now?
is before I knew you.
And I don't think I've ever been in the same room as you drunk.
No, I just.
Although, I mean,
I don't enjoy the prospect of feeling that way anymore. Certainly not in the morning.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, you've definitely seen me. You've definitely spoken to me drunk, but I don't know if I've ever been in the same room as you drunk either.
No, I think I make you boring when you hang out with me.
No,
I bring you down to my boring level.
No. You probably elevate me. Otherwise, I'd just be in like a pool of my own sick in the corner somewhere.
You might be after I tell you this story. So yeah, I believe this was where my friend Bear, we had a wrestling fancy dress
Have
party
I
for
met
his birthday.
Bear? What's his real name?
Ashley Jeffs.
I've spoken to him. I think we did. I've spoken to him. I don't know if I've been in the same
Yeah,
room.
he lived with me for a bit. He's a big lad, like 6'6", something like that.
I was thinking of Chris, I think, was the one we played some Resident Evil card game with last time I was down here.
Yeah, nah, you would have only met him in Aberdeen if you met him anywhere. But again, I don't think maybe you didn't live with him by the time you started coming over. Yeah, so we were already
I
drunk.
lived in that. The only flat I ever met you in was the one that the toilet exploded in.
Oh, you didn't come to the one before that?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, no, you probably didn't. No, maybe you didn't. Yeah, it must have just been the toilet one with the old bald, tattooed knuckled man who's angry at me at 3 a.m. for wiping my ass with kitchen roll and blocking up the toilet. That's right. So anyway,
led, Alex.
we need to get. Yeah, I know. We've got one more, and then we're going to get onto Elden Ring. Right. So we were really drunk. Wrestling dress up birthday party. We'd had a load to drink. We'd watched a Royal Rumble and did a drinking game, and
Can
we
you
made
remember
far
who won
too
the
many
Royal Rumble?
rules.
And what was the drinking game?
Stone Cold won the Royal Rumble. We wrote like 30 things that you had to drink for, right? Stuff like a Japanese wrestler enters, a McMahon enters, Kane eliminates someone, something like that. One of the rules for that as well was
Oh, you wouldn't want to do finisher as one of the moves because there's always a point where someone comes in and just dishes out a finisher like six
it
times in a
probably
row.
was one of the rules
It
because
would have
I
been
think I
stone
got a bit
cold.
carried away. And there's another one as well where like we all picked a wrestler beforehand, and if your wrestler did any of the 30 things, it was double. And one of them for like 6 shots was somebody gets their head put through a popcorn machine, and we just happened to find the Royal. And then we picked the Royal Rumble at
Did you know
random.
there would be a popcorn machine?
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
yeah. But we randomly picked that one where it happened, and the Undertaker did it to a guy called Maven, and Bear had Undertaker as his wrestler, so he had to do 12 shots.
Did he know
so
that
he
was
just poured
coming?
them all in a pint glass and just downed it. Yeah, I think we all knew it was coming, and he was like dreading it, but he did it, took it like a man.
Took it like a man.
So by the end of the night, we were all fucking absolutely hammered, and we'd had a massive wrestling match as well. Bacon trays to the head, ladder match on a little step ladder, a little belt hanging from a chandelier. It was amazing. We started to not care about double piss. So Bear and I stood pissing over the same toilet together.
We've been in that situation.
I'm pissing
a couple
normally.
times. He had his
And he whipped
foreskin
his-
pulled back.
He pulled it back on purpose and said, "Why are you pissing like that? You've got to pull your foreskin back, or you're going to piss all over the inside of your own dick. That's really unhygienic." Is that? I mean, I've done it. I took that lesson on board. That's how I piss now. I don't pull it all the way back, just like halfway, just to make sure its passage is clear. But is that a thing?
Not that
You're supposed to do that?
It's not something I've ever encountered.
Dick was way bigger than mine as well.
I will say though, because I am a circumcised man, but I am a circumcised
Oh, are
man.
you?
Like, so wait, what am I? I'm 34 now, so I'd have been circumcised in 2014 or 15.
That's recent.
So I was late in life getting circumcised. And yeah, I would say, having not heard that rule before, and having lived a life pre and post circumcision, is definitely cleaner if you pull it back.
What? Are you preferring life this way?
I mean, it was a choice thrust upon me, so to speak.
Okay.
But yeah, I think life is probably better post circumcision, I would say, rather than pre. But yes, absolutely.
I don't think I've ever met a circumcised man before.
If you've met an American, you have. I think a lot of American, like
Maybe I have then.
from listening to spending my entire youth, because I was blissfully is the wrong word, like ignorant of the UK gaming scene. Most of my podcast in life has been listening to American coverage.
I mean, you obviously missed out on the type of Britishness that we've provided in this last half an hour.
Circumcisions have come up from time to time, and it seems to blow Americans' minds that there are adults not circumcised. So, yeah, I think it's
very
common in the US.
I think you're right, actually. Yeah.
The
I
male,
don't know why.
The male genital mutilation. That's just.
I mean, yeah. Because only over here, it's probably just Jewish people.
It's unusual, yeah. I'd say it's unusual.
Or people who have a medical need for it.
A medical need, like myself.
Oh man, there you go. You're pissing over every single wall you need.
Yeah, but the problem is that like, yeah, I've gotten, I can't pump the brakes. So like, I'm going over the wall, or I'm like a power hose. There's no in between. That is one thing.
I can't imagine life without it. Without the old helmet these days.
That's one thing post circumcision that is an issue that wasn't a problem pre-circumcision, is if you're standing at a urinal, you've got to angle your willy in a certain direction, otherwise the splashback is a thing.
Well, I don't have to worry about that because I can't go in a urinal.
No? Or you get pee fright?
Yep, public piss syndrome like a motherfucker.
The only primary school toilet incident I ever had was with a girl that accidentally found herself in the male toilets and thought she was meant to sit on the urinals and pee in them. So it was like, at the singulars, she was sitting on one of those when I went into the toilet as like a 6-year-old, just peeing. So maybe you should try that, is what I'm getting at. Next time you're at a urinal, just...
For many, many years, I haven't even bothered. And then
do you just go in the cubicle and close the door and then you're fine to go?
Yeah. And in a few weeks, because I mean, to me, it's weirder to go at a urinal. I don't want to piss next to one of them. I mean, I have done, but he was my friend and I was drunk. But I don't want to piss next to a stranger. Why would I ever want that? I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to know that you're there. So when I was at
the only good thing about it is if I'm at like Murrayfield watching a rugby game, it is quicker, more efficient. Just get everyone in a big line and pee.
See, this is the thing, and this is the problem that I had, because the last time I went to Tottenham, I feel really bad. I've started to get a real double anxiety. So I already have the anxiety about pissing around other men, but now I get the anxiety of Rachel's dad is waiting outside for me, and I'm queuing for a cubicle that's definitely going to smell like shit because everyone else is using it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
So this time the queue was like I probably went in and there was a queue of maybe 2 or 3 people for the cubicle. And every time I see him, I like to just imagine that they're the same weird, pathetic, like man-child that I am.
I'd rather pee next to a stranger than someone I know, because then I need to forever look into their eyes.
Good point. Yeah, I've never looked at it Bear the same way since, actually. But then again, I did learn something. So it was educational as well as
this is it. Yeah, I'm seeing a through line from you, like educational consistency. Every time you encounter people and have a conversation in a bathroom, you come out with some knowledge.
I mean, think of what the listeners have learned so far already. Outstanding. They don't need to know the Elden Ring lore. They've learned way more important things.
Was it Darren that peed over the cubicle?
Yeah.
Like if Darren's your Splinter, Alex Aldridge is now the listener's Splinter, passing on his knowledge to the next generation.
Yeah. So there was like maybe 2 people in the queue, and I thought to myself, "This has got to stop. You're 36 years old now. You're a big boy.
You've got a kid.
A man's waiting. Yeah, there's a man outside who's waiting to go sit and watch the football with you. He's bought you a beer, so it's kind of his fault you're in this situation.
You're going to need the toilet again soon if you're drinking a beer.
So just go to the urinal. It's okay."
Oh, it's one of those cool Tottenham beers as well. For goodness sakes, get yourself out there.
No. It was out. It's from outside. It wasn't the upside down beer. Yeah. So I'm there at the urinal. Here we go. It's going to happen. It's not happened yet. Why has it not happened yet? I knew this was going to happen. Just don't look at anybody. Hang on a minute. People are going to look at you now. They can hear that you haven't pissed. There's no splashing.
I've never listened to anyone pee in my life. They're not paying attention.
I know nobody does this, but in my head, they can all see that you've gone over here. You're going to have to just double check now. You're going to have to turn your head around.
Is there going to be some cockney thinking you just went over there to look at dick?
They intimidate me the most, is football fans. For fuck's sake. So you're going to have to turn your head and make sure that nobody sees you skulk back into a queue, which has now lengthened by 3 extra fucking people. So I turn around. All right, there's nobody looking at me. They all know I haven't. They all know I've not pissed, but I'm going to have to slink back to the queue. Then I rejoin the back of the queue. Got my phone out. Text Rach was like, tried to go through your urinal again. Didn't fucking work. I'm stuck like fucking 5 deep in the queue. Like, I would have been in there and out of there by now.
You'd have been done.
And then I actually went back to Rachel's dad and was like, "I'm really sorry about that. I tried to go in the urinal, but I can't, so I had to queue for a cubicle twice."
At least I think that's something to be commended. To be fair, at least you're honest about your.
I'm too open, really. I'm far too open. But I just don't. I can never do it. I can't. I don't know why. I could do it when I was a kid. I can't do it now.
When you're a kid, though, you like pants down around your ankles, bum out while you were peeing at a urinal.
Yeah. But now I'm just like, everyone can tell. Everyone's looking at you. They all know it. They can hear you're not pissing. They know you're not pissing. They're all wondering why you aren't doing it. They all think you can't piss.
And here comes no piss, Alex.
Here comes old dry dick himself.
Does he pull his foreskin back?
Do you want me to give you a helping hand there, mate? Push it, squeeze it out for you. Christ almighty. That, to me, is harder than anything Elden Ring can ever throw at me, is pissing in a urinal. Something that should be as natural as anything. But I'd rather take on fucking Godric, the whatever it is.
Take on Margit.
Yeah.
Godric Gryffindor.
This has been
39 minutes of chat about urine. Yep. That's what you come here for.
I'm glad everybody knows this now.
You saw Elden Ring and you thought, I know what we're going to get today. Nice, in-depth
with nothing
chat.
With nothing if not unpredictable.
That's true.
Anyone who predicted we'd have gone that way would be me and nobody else. Any of the listeners got no idea. I probably could have, I should have expected this was going to come up at some point. And you weren't even talking about piss. You were talking about IT class. of just somebody leaving to go to the toilet. It's nothing to do with the toilet. Shows where my mind is.
In an attempt belatedly to wrestle this back on point, Alex, do you want to tell us the format? Because we're not covering the whole of Elden Ring today. God,
we just can't.
We just can't do it.
I don't know if we ever will, because
we will. Really... It might be 6 years from now, but we're going to get there. It's now in my head as a point of principle. I'm getting through this damn game.
That's kind of the same for me. Yeah. It's So the format of this one is David very kindly and ingeniously made a spreadsheet which listed the many areas of Elden Ring in order of where you should, and their level sort of caps that you should be when you're there. We both then kind of traded off where we were at in the game. I pretty much knew where David was because I've co-opted with him for almost all of his campaign. I can't piss in a urinal. David can't do Elden Ring without me holding his hand. We have.
I need. Yeah, this is the thing. Is I can.
That was a joke. That wasn't the truth, everybody.
I can do it, but I would love to. I need to think on this while I'm walking the dogs, because that seems to be when I do most of my thinking.
It's a good thinking time for you.
Walking around the levels, absolutely fine. Facing a boss gives me the same anxiety as I got when the alien would arrive in Alien Isolation.
I think don't know if I get that, because I think the bosses have actually been much. They're not easier, but the fact that you get a steak of Marika outside the boss room, you don't have to run all the way back through enemies again.
Yeah,
is what makes this one less intimidating to me.
We were talking about this with Bloodborne earlier on, and when we were playing Bloodborne, I just got to the point that and I think it's open world nature, is that I sometimes find myself at a boss that I wasn't expecting. And at Bloodborne, I got to the point with I would know I was doing a boss run, so then you would just sort of divorce your attachment to souls and think, right, this is not what I'm doing right now. What I'm doing is I'm fighting this boss, and the souls are just unimportant until this boss is beaten. Then when I'm walking through the levels themselves, I can think about the bosses, but for some reason I'm not getting that yet. I may get there, but at this point I'm not there yet.
I guess you just don't know it well enough yet, do you?
Yeah. And I maybe never will, because it's such a big game. It's such an obscure game.
It's huge. Utterly huge. Mm-hmm. The map, if you look at a picture of the map, it just doesn't look that massive, but this feels bigger than The Witcher to me. Maybe because it's wrought with a lot more difficulty, so everything takes longer, and you're repeating areas much more than you would in a standard Skyrim, Witcher, typical Western RPG way. Maybe that's what makes it seem so massive. But,
maybe. I wonder. This is one thing that and this is going to be a sentence you'll hear throughout the entirety of this podcast, because I'm going to feel the need to repeat myself over and over again. But it's one of these bits when it comes to that sort of stuff, because I was looking up side quests today to start working through, and that I understand and I appreciate and I even kind of like and admire the way that the game is set up in every way to be this sort of obscure old school game in a way that games aren't these days, and I respect it and like it in the way that it doesn't hold your hand. But things like side quests, you don't even get a side quest marker, and even and I don't. I'm saying this, but I'm saying this with a caveat that I don't even think I want this. Is that I've started side quests in this game, and then I'll maybe take a week off because life happens. I'm an adult, and then I'll come back to the game and I've got no idea, or I've forgotten what side quests I was working on, and the game offers no way for you to sort of re-onboard yourself. And that's, I guess, maybe because we've taken or at least I have taken an extended break from the game recently. That's what I'm struggling with, is that if I had started this game from level 1 and started playing it and then never stopped and just kept going, it was the only game I played for a month or 2 months, I'd always be on board and always know where I was. But the fact that I've played it for 3 weeks and then I've taken a week or two break and then I've tried to go back to it, I think maybe that's the root of my frustration at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely the root of your kind of feeling of being overwhelmed every time you jump
Yeah,
back
just
in
trying to
again and not knowing
climb
where you
back on the
are.
horse, and it just doesn't. It doesn't. I'm not
Even
asking
that
for
at
the.
times was
Yeah,
something you had to
I'm
try and
not
actually
asking for the
remember.
game to hold my hand or tell me what to do or give me markers or anything like that. I'm happy with that, but and this is the thing is that like I'm fully aware that I don't know how you would do this, but I just like the onboarding it for someone that has started the game and then trying to come back is just, to me, I'm finding it quite impenetrable, to the point that I'm almost, like I've said to you before, I'm going back to, like, I'm just going to go and do some side quests and I'm going to ignore where I am in the story and come back to that later, because if I just find, and this is the thing, I'm one of these players that don't care about this, because there's players that don't want to do this. But like, I'll just like give me side quests and tell me where to go. So I'm like looking it up and then trying to work my way through. And I actually was a bit more satisfied once I started doing that today,
Yeah.
because it's almost like a reintegration to the game, and I can look through and it's like, oh, I'm remembering I did that, which means I need to go and do that, because I'm finding I've started things and then wandered off and then forgotten that I was doing it.
I mean, there's been quests that I've done. I think one of them. You remember the girl who has scarlet rot?
Yeah.
When you've done a lot of her quest, she she basically says something like, "I'm going to go off now and carry on what I'm looking for," and she is basically just stood in the middle of nowhere looking at something. I mean, she's not at a landmark. She's not at a site of grace. She's just
Yeah, how would you
stood.
come across that?
Yeah. Now, I think one way you could do it. I mean, one way we could probably do this is to maybe use the map marking system better for ourselves, because you
Yeah.
can, not only can you place the markers, the blue lights that show you where you're going, you can use the like icons, can't you? And maybe if
That's
we
what I should
started
have done
thinking
today
more
when I was
about that.
moaning to you about that cave that I found. I was like, well, I need to go
Oh
in.
yeah, yeah. I didn't even think about it at the time. I would quite like them to have had a kind of like the Skyrim. I don't even know what it's called. Like it's basically just like have a list of every bit of dialogue that you've had for you
Yeah,
to read
but
back. Because at least then you could read what point you're up to talking to
was
someone,
it
and maybe
Skyrim that
you
did?
could
I
see what they
find that
last said.
there was something at Skyrim that annoyed me, that because it didn't do that.
Maybe it was that.
Oblivion was the one that is like, I want to do that, and you could look at a quest and you could look back through all the dialogue that you'd done in that quest and sort of remind yourself of what you did.
Yeah, that would help here, but to do that without labeling it, or like,
Giving it a name,
compartmentalizing
because
it under a
even if you
quest.
give it a
Yeah,
name, you're checking it off. You're allowed to throw a
exactly.
checkbox, which the
Yeah,
same game doesn't seem to want.
no. So I don't. Yeah, it has made a lot of concessions from the old style because it had to. I mean, to
So
to
you're
make
the
this
only.
as obscure as.
Annoyingly, I've not played. And maybe I'll just wait until we're in the same room together and we can do what we did before. But like, I've not really dug into the very first of the sort of the older Souls games. I think the first one I properly played was.
Three, probably.
Dark Souls 3. Yeah, Dark Souls 3,
Yeah.
Bloodborne.
I think you and I
then
went
back
three,
to 2.
Bloodborne, two. Yeah,
And then
that's it.
I've not played Sekiro. I've not played the first one. I've not played Demon Souls. I don't
Oh
think.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I have. I must have played them all now. Yeah, I have. I have played them all.
Have
Not
you
finished.
finished
I
them all?
didn't. No, I can't finish Sekiro. The final boss is too hard. And two, I think the same thing. I remember I just gave up because I got fed up of it, and we weren't playing it together anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had a big. That's when you came to visit, wasn't it? We basically set up two TVs and played it alongside each other.
Yeah.
And then after that, we didn't really do a lot of online, did we? We both just kind of fell off of it, and then I wasn't compelled to play it by myself if you weren't playing with me, so we just stopped.
Yeah, I have to be. Yeah, these. I was going to make a proclamation there, but I can't with these games. I find them so difficult. Like, I can wake up one day and they can grab me, and then I can wake up the next day and think, oh, I don't want to play this. I want to do anything but play this, and it's so weird. I've never had this experience with other games. Like, I liken the boss fights to Alien Isolation frustration, but like I just didn't like that game. Like, this one I do.
Yeah.
But I also don't. Like, it's so odd. So odd.
I definitely feel like this game requires more of a break than any of the other ones I've played. But they do all feel that way too. Like, there are times when I just tell myself I need to stop playing it. Not, I don't want to, but more just like, I'm getting fed up of this now. I keep dying. I need to just stop. because
But then, do you
then
not
I
think,
will
like,
end up hating it.
what we were speaking about before, though, I was looking at my timestamp, and I think you're way ahead of me. But like my timestamp's it's about 40 hours, like 40 to between 40 and 50, I think. Like normally, that would get you through Bloodborne, no problem.
Oh,
Even if
easy.
you weren't
Easy.
looking up, even if you weren't looking up guides, even if you're just going in blind, that would get you through Bloodborne.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one doesn't. So I wonder if I've just sort of like, I wonder if without knowing it, Bloodborne has sort of come to a natural end, and I'm like, right, I'm ready for this to be done, and then I finish it. Whereas this game, I've come to it, and then it's like, oh no, you've done like a third of this.
Yeah. I mean, it's supposed to get really, really difficult towards the end as well. We haven't even touched on many of those parts. I have just gone into
You're good at
the
getting
sort of
past the
Forbidden
bosses,
Lands.
though. You're good at getting past the bosses.
I was with my older build. I don't know now. I've got the Dark Moon Greatsword going on. How good I will be. Although that the Mimic tier has definitely helped me get
That's
through a
one
lot.
thing I'd like
I've
to
summoned on every boss, so I haven't.
I don't know
Not
if you've
humans,
got,
but
I don't know if you've got space for it in your podcast, but that's something I'd like to talk about, is like how you like your thought process behind building your character. Because we had a conversation again earlier about this today, and me thinking now maybe that's something I need to rethink.
Well, the first part I wanted to talk about was the character classes at the beginning, and well, I was going to do the basic story and lore, but who cares? What did you say earlier?
Give us a quick version of what you've got, because you've put the effort in. I want to hear it.
I haven't put anything into the story. I was gonna look it up, and then I just couldn't be bothered in the end.
Yeah, fair.
Because we're in some kind of golden age.
The more I play
death
these
doesn't
Souls
exist.
games, they're all the same. They just change the names of things, like a tarnished or a maiden list. They're all the same fucking thing.
Yeah, I just implore anybody who wants to know the lore. If they wanted to know the lore, they'd have already listened or watched the Barty video.
They're not coming here for this.
Whoever. No, we are not going to provide it because it would take a whole podcast. And realistically, it would be taking a whole podcast of stuff that's not really the game.
Yeah.
The item descriptions and things that we've researched out with the game. We want to talk about the actual game.
Yeah.
So we will talk about the game. Because, as is always the way, there is enough in these games in terms of the world building, the atmosphere, the visuals, the enemy design, the boss design, the level design, that keeps them so compelling to us. I wish there was more lore to it, but at the same time, it's unobtrusive enough for you to just get on with the game and enjoy the game for what it is, which is to be commended and is old school in its very nature. I just dislike how deep the lore is under the surface versus on the surface, because I genuinely have very little idea of what. And this one is particularly bad because of how similar all the fucking names are of everybody. They all begin with George R.R. Martin's initials. And
Apparently,
that's seemingly the only thing that he's
not deliberate.
Well, what else did he contribute? I'd like to know what he actually contributed to this, because he certainly didn't take Miyazaki by the hand and be like, "Look, mate,
he sounds like a nightmare.
You might want to tell a story here rather than making people figure it out." But clearly, that's one of the biggest draws around this series is the lore videos that come out afterwards, and the discussions and the own interpretations that people have of what's actually going on, when realistically most of the time the stories are relatively straightforward. Especially this one, there's just a lot of weird sort of marriage shit going on, and demigods and Elden Lords, and who the fuck knows. You have to become the Elden Lord. I don't know why. There's some fingers involved.
Yeah, there are. But I was speaking to that guy that says you can't trust the fingers. But does that mean you just can't trust him?
Well, there's him, and then there's the Volcano Manor people who don't want to help the Tarnished. They want you to kill all the Tarnished, and fuck up the Erd Tree. The Erd Tree, yeah. So there seems to be like some element of like player agency choice that you can do. Oh, I want to go against whatever, but I don't really ever know why I would. I don't know why I'm doing it in the first place. So I don't know why I'd go against it. I don't understand.
You don't know what you're doing.
So
them saying that it's bad, like you're like, why? Like I don't know why it's good either. I don't know why it's good or bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All I know is everyone wants to kill me. So
all I want is like, give me a way to progress. Are you going to give me a good item? And then let's go from there.
Exactly. So you start the game with multiple character classes as you always do, and in this game they are less relevant than they ever have been before because of the fact that you can, after maybe 15, 20 hours or so, respec your character using items that are rare but relatively plentiful enough that you could get
Yeah.
a good number. I think I've respec my character 5 times already. um, I have always personally wanted to engage with the moonlight sword element of all these games. Every single Souls game, maybe not Sekiro, everything other than that.
So what is that? Because I've never even thought about or engaged with that.
Again, don't ask me for the story behind any of it, but every game has its own version of something to do with a moonlight sword, a great sword, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You remember in Bloodborne, the big horse guy. Can't remember what his name is. Might be Alexander, but I'm not sure. Do you remember? There's like a really big horse, and then halfway through, he like picks the sword up, and then starts going mental. It's in the DLC, I think.
No, I know I don't, but I've definitely done it. But no, I don't.
Let me just find it. Hang on, I'll tell you what his name is. Bloodborne.
Could be Alexander. There is a boss called Alexander.
Ludwig.
Oh, Ludwig.
Is it
yeah.
Ludwig? Ludwig the Accursed, I believe. And he has like the Moonlight Greatsword or whatever. But they're in all the games, and I've always wanted to use one of them, but I've never had the build to do it. And I've always thought, this must be really fun because it's the signature sword that they keep bringing back. It's like a staple of all the games. So I started off much like you currently are, as a pure sort of dex strength build. I wanted a big sword that did bleed damage, because bleed damage seems to be the way to play this game, unless you were one of those absolute fuck weasels who gave us instant blight when they set themselves on fire and ran at us that one time.
Oh yeah, what was that? That must have been
something that's been totally nerfed now.
But has it?
Now it's all about rivers of blood, whatever that sword is. But that's apparently what everybody uses.
I've got a tab saved on my bookmarks that every time I open my game, I've got like, when I wake up in the morning, I've got like a news, games, and sports tabs, and I just like right click open all to them all, and then go through each website, right click and open all the stories that I want to read. I've got one that opens every day that is about that Elden Ring sword that you just mentioned.
Yeah,
I've just never read it yet. It always ends up getting close, so I get distracted by something.
Yeah, people hate it. It's like the new kind of everybody goes to get this.
I'll open it now and I'll tell you what the headline is.
Yeah, go on.
It's called. It's on Games Radar, and the title is "The Elden Ring community has a new common enemy: the overpowered Rivers of Blood katana." Is that it?
There you go. Yeah, that's it.
And it's basically just people getting ripped apart.
Yeah.
Thanks, Austin Wood.
Yeah, cheers, man. So I partly wanted to try a magic build, which I don't know why, because again, doing a magic build is something I've always wanted to do in one of these games rather than
any of these games, but I never have. I don't know why.
So I would suggest, if you aren't totally done with this series after this, Demon Souls is the game to play for magic, because it's so overpowered in that game, and I read that going in, and so I just used that in that game, and so I'd already had my fix of magic. So I don't know why I was desperate to do it in this game, but there were just so many sorceries and incantations that I really wanted to do that, and I really wanted to do that big, like, Kamehameha, Super Hadouken, whatever you want to call it, thing that you saw everybody wrecking stuff with, which again has been nerfed and now is basically shit and useless. So at the moment I'm using the Dark Moon Greatsword, which is, I hated at first, but since I've realised to power it up and do a strong attack, fires out like a beam of light plus ice damage, sort of like the way it used to in Zelda, Link to the Past, when you had full hearts, your sword would shoot something. Basically it's like that. So I'm using that, but I've also got this, I think it's called the Moon Veil. It's like a magic katana that does bleed damage and magic damage all at the same time.
Right. Okay.
So that is but you've got a special move where so your LT is like he sheathes it, and then when you attack, he like does like a super attack that does like loads of magic damage and whatever. So I'm trying to build up my dex stat, and maybe I'll go into arcane afterwards to get that bleed damage of that higher up, because at the moment the Dark Moon Greatsword is where it's at for me. And you are on the Bloodhound's Fang, is that right?
I think so.
That you got off the from the blood, whatever it is, the Hound's Ever jail thing.
I actually don't. It's probably what
I just got bored of it. I think I just wanted something else. I must have played for 100 hours now, and I was like, I want something different.
I want something faster. I remember when I got it. I remember thinking this is like the sort of swing speed is really slow, and I didn't quite like it.
Yeah.
But I was just getting, because it had so much bleed damage. I was finding that I was doing well with it, so I've kind of stuck with it and got used to it now. But I want something quicker. I wonder if I need like a dex build or something like that.
Yeah, dex building a katana, you'll probably end up with the same thing as. Oh no,
I
mine's
like the
quite
idea
magic
of.
based.
I mean, I was watching someone play with those sort of Wolverine claws. I quite like the idea of those.
Yeah, Ash, a friend of, well, you've met him before, I believe, on one of our podcasts, and if not, he did one when you weren't around. He does not enjoy these games unless he is able to dual wield swords. He will never play Shield because he thinks it's too slow and boring. He hates it. He hated Dark Souls 3 when he had to try and block things and parry, and he didn't enjoy that game until he just had the two biggest swords he could possibly have. So he is apparently using the Bloodhound's Fang plus the Wolverine claws, which to me sounds like a mad combo. You've got one big heavy slow thing, and then the little Wolverine thing as your fast thing. So he apparently swears by that, and he's enjoyed very much going back through the early areas and wrecking shop.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about that, because you're like talking about. I've always wanted to do a magic, like even games like Skyrim and stuff. I've wanted to do a magic build, and just for some reason never have. I always end up with sword and shield, sword and shield, sword and shield every single time.
I think it gets to a point. I mean, you may feel differently, but it gets to a point where you've played that so many times, and you know these games are going to do things to fuck with you. You know how hard they are, that to change, you feel like it's going to be such a fundamental change to your playstyle that you're not ready for. You're going to enjoy it even let you want to be comfortable with it from the get-go, and just feel like, I'm going to slip back in and do sword and shield, and if you do magic it'll throw you off, and maybe playing Demon Souls as magic beforehand kind of helped me here. I think you should try and go faith build and try and use one of the holy weapons, and then me and you can kind of mix up sorcery and faith incantations, because you can do a lot of pyromancy and all that shit with that.
I'll maybe start googling it and have a look around and see what options are open to me, because I must.
You can then do that big, that big move where you jump and then all that gold shit comes out. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I want to do that, but that's faith stuff. I've got nothing in faith, like 8. I'm like 65 intelligence or something.
Spent a lot of time.
Maybe go with that.
Yeah, you're right though. It's just such a change.
Yeah, it's just having range in this game feels really worthwhile.
Totally.
And I don't find the bows very satisfying to use. I haven't really. I don't know when I
can't use them. I don't know how to make them work. So.
Oh yeah, I'll show you how to use them if you want to try that Scarlet Rot thing. But I'm sure that you could find some similar, because I've got the sorcery of that giant bow, haven't I? So that's basically my bow and arrow, and it works because it basically homes in. It will not miss. It's like a hit scan. I'm pretty safe using that. But I guess the part 2 of this podcast, we will talk about how hopefully David has decided on a build that he wants and has had some kind of epiphany of awakening the way to grind to min-maxing towards something different. And that's something that should be commended in this game, is that it allows you to make anything seems viable in a way that not many other games.
Yeah, I mean, you only need to go to Reddit or like there are endless builds that people are using to just like wreck shop. There's not like one de facto, this is how you need to build your character to do the best.
Exactly, and we've just both watched a video of Iron Pineapple over encumbering himself with a max equip load, so he can only walk, to eventually become the best turtle shell, like poking a thing from behind a shield possible. Like no one could hurt him. He was losing barely any stamina or no health and barely any stamina from blocking constantly, and then would just be jabbing from behind a shield. So yeah, they've balanced it in a way that, aside from the OP bullshit that then everyone hates on, and then they nerf it. PvE, there is no real wrong way to play.
No.
But bleed weapons are the best.
Yeah, I think so. I've been messed up so many times by bleed. And Scarlet Rot. Those are the two things.
Oh, Scarlet Rot. I mean, that is a psychopath's dream, isn't it? Like, he already gave us poison before. He's already given us bullshit like death gas that kills you in one. Now we've got like a mix of the fucking two in Scarlet Rot, which is just the most heinous status effect. Although we haven't had Madness yet. That comes late in the game, so that could be worse.
Is that a thing that's coming, is it?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that one.
Much like Bloodborne, this game opens up with a boss in the tutorial that you're supposed to die to, but I did watch a video today of somebody shooting him with arrows as the samurai class. And then effectively once you've killed the tutorial boss, you get some stuff. You keep walking until you get to a cliff edge, which breaks under your feet and you die anyway. But I'm assuming, much like me, this probably one-shotted you, or at least two-shotted you before you could even fight back.
Yeah.
You do a small tutorial where you kind of drop down a hole where some ghost is sat.
It's easily missable.
Yeah, too easily missable. Well, not necessarily missable either, but scary. There's a ghost sat there. It says jump down that hole, and there's a door over there.
I feel like if you've played these games before, you know when the game's trying to lead you, and you know that that's saying there's something down there. I think if you're new to this game, i.e. the type of person that will need a tutorial, it's not obvious.
No. And it took me a lot. I think I probably went out the front door and then went back again. Once I went out the door and saw all of Limgrave in front of me and the big tree sentinel on his fucking fuck off horse, I was like, I'm just gonna we'll go check out that hole. I'm too overwhelmed by this giant world.
Yeah,
it's like the old Fallout 3 moment, wasn't it? Just amplified by 100 in terms of how scary it was.
Yeah,
when you come out of the vault the first time, now you're coming into Limgrave, and Jesus Christ. I'm gonna just take a quick look at my Limgrave map so that we can maybe go through some of the areas. I mean, obviously the main area is Stormvale Castle, which you're leading towards the whole time. The first thing you probably come across in Limgrave would be
it's going to be the big dude when you walk out.
Yeah, which
on the horse.
Don't go anywhere near him.
Yeah,
until you've got your own
away
horse
from him. Yeah, this is a thing that is both like intriguing, fascinating, amazing, but also deeply frustrating about these games is that as well is part of the tutorial, in that like it's like, right, we're going to present you with a lunatic enemy to say that there, even in the early game, the level you're at, there are going to be enemies that you need to stay away from, and that you need to really treat with respect, and that if you don't, you will die quick. And that's the thing is that I constantly, I find it deeply frustrating, but I'm constantly trying to tell myself that when you die in these games, it's not necessarily a punishment, it's an opportunity to try and I hate saying this because it makes you sound like such a twat, but it's like an opportunity to sort of learn and think, right, this is maybe something that I should do differently, I guess.
It absolutely is, though. It is wanky to say it, but that is what they're going for, and it's so they've perfected it, or has got as close to perfection as they can with it now. With this open world, because really, up until Stormvale Castle, the first boss that you get there, which is I think it's Margit, isn't it? The Fell Omen.
Yeah,
he fucked me up over and over again. And he's before the castle. You haven't even got into Stormvale Castle yet. He's like the gatekeeper of it, and he is there clearly as this barrier to tell you you're not ready. You need to go away and come back later when you're, I don't know, level 30 or whatever, because he will ruin you. But the first area that I can kind of vividly remember is I think it's Stormgate, maybe, where you've got that camp of enemies. There's a big dude kind of walking through the middle.
Yeah.
There's some dogs. There's dudes kind of just chilling out and hanging around. That is probably the main bit I remember from the beginning, because I remember that was part of the demo as well, I believe. I didn't play that, but that's what a lot of people got involved with. That's a nice like sort of early farming area.
Yeah, early farming area, an area that you get to grips, and like there's a lot of mechanics there that you can learn from that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't remember. It may have existed, but I don't remember using like a sneak mechanic in one of these games before. What is
It's probably come from Sekiro.
right? Okay, so they've put like this the ability to sneak around. They've put some hard enemies in there. They've put some easier enemies in there. They've got dogs in there. They've got items to find, and it's just a nice sort of
Guys with the horns that blow them, and then
yeah.
everyone swarms you.
Gives you it's in a microcosm. It's an area that sort of lets you learn about a lot of what this game is going to be like as you move forward. And then
Yeah.
even that area, if you hang around there long enough, that big cart comes up to you with those big blads on it.
Yes, it does. Which gets you. Well, it's got a treasure chest in the back in it. Like maybe it gets you a Morning Star, I think, maybe, or something like that. I remember me and you had some fun hunting that down. I don't think you would come across this early, but obviously, nighttime in this game drastically changes things. Well, not drastically,
It
but
does.
changes the enemies and the behaviors. And
I forgot it did.
because I still haven't fought the Knights Cavalry that wander about in the nighttime around this area. There's a big guy on a big black horse.
Oh, did the enemies change?
There's actual like full on boss enemies in these areas at night that only appear there. You've got a lot of like these giant bird enemies, like, sort of mini bosses. And like I say, the Knights Cavalry scared the hell out of me when they one-shotted me early on. But like that might be the next thing I want to go do. Actually, just go try take him on. Now I've got a horse and a big weapon.
No, yeah.
See what I can
You
do.
must be ready, yeah. I remember like probably the thing that scared the life out of me the most in the early game were the bears, the massive bears.
In the Mistwood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was rough. The one that's scratching that tree does not fuck about.
No.
He does a lot more damage to you than he does to the tree. So
He does, yeah.
He's obviously got his priorities wrong. Of course, there's the lake with the dragon, which I avoided for a very, very long time. I think we probably both agree that maybe we're kind of not that scared of him anymore.
No,
the dragon is not necessarily
okay. As long as you've got a horse,
off-putting.
they're okay. It's just got to keep moving. I'd say
Have you fought the Scarlet Rot Dragon yet? You must have done. That's in Limgrave. It's in Caelid. Did you go back and do that after me? Because remember we tried to do it on foot, and he absolutely.
That's right. No, I haven't been back because that was the 100,000 souls loss, the infamous night that I've not.
No, that's the big one. That was the big
but it was
dragon.
the same night
that
it was the same night.
Oh, was
we
it?
encountered them, yeah.
Yeah, it probably was actually. Yeah, it's all around that area in the Dragon Barrow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a podcast part. That's a part 2 chat.
I wonder if it's a part 2 chat, but Mistwood has maybe my biggest wow moment in the game so far when you go down that really long lift.
Yeah, that was going to be the last section of this.
Okay, we'll wheel back around.
Yeah, because I really the wow moment is short lived because I fucking hate that area. And
I like the first part. As bad when you get up to those electric balls
and the snipers, the deadliest snipers in the West.
They are vicious.
Fucking suck. There are quite a few sort of repeated types of landmarks, so to speak, on the map in this game. You've got things like catacombs or caves that you will learn to kind of grind through. There's always a boss at the end of most of these. You've also got things like the little shacks.
Yep.
Churches. Sometimes churches give you things. Sometimes they make you fight some dickhead. I don't really remember too many of the catacombs or the caves in this early area, but I know that they usually are quite a nice break from the open world in terms that they would, if you're at the right level for that world, they're probably like a good midpoint for whatever area you're in. They're not quite as, they're going to have a boss at the end, but they're not necessarily going to be as hard as, the final boss or anything like that. Usually you're going to get a decent weapon or something at the end of it. You've got a lot of ruins as well that usually has like a underground area that you've got to find. Probably going to have a lot of enemies swarming around it. You've got to clear out, and then you can go underground and maybe get another weapon. Most of the time that's just go through a door and open a chest. Of course, you also have chests that transport you to random far off areas. People are seemingly quite annoyed that there's no mimic chests in this game. They were obviously totally replaced by the teleporting chests instead. I don't care that there's no mimic chests in there. You're muted.
They're annoyed that there's no mimic chests.
Yeah,
I don't
such a
like that.
staple.
I guess it's a staple, but like I've never liked. And I was saying to you before, like I'm pleased that this game, at least so far, seems to have moved away from just fuck you because fuck you ness of this game. Like,
I would totally agree with that.
and
Yeah,
a mimic chest is that. It's just like, oh, fuck you, mate. Bye.
yeah. But you know what though? There's part of me that still thinks there's some sort of agreement in all of the Reddit community that they're all going to pretend that there aren't any mimic chests in the game, but there actually are.
There actually are.
And it's all one big joke that everyone's in on except me. And I'm kind of like, there is going to be one. I'm still going to hit every chest because I don't believe that there isn't any in there.
I remember I was speaking to someone else who played this game, and they were saying that they hadn't. It changed quite dramatically, but at the point that we're at, they were like, "Oh, weirdly, there's not any hidden walls." Apparently, like as the game progresses, that becomes a thing.
It certainly does. I can't. Yeah, I haven't really got to any. I mean, there are apparently some that are just ridiculous, just like in the middle of absolutely nowhere
as well, isn't there?
You got it like 50 times.
Yeah.
I'm never going to do that. I don't even know where that is. I'm not going to look it up because I don't care. Yeah, I can't think of too much more to really talk about in Limgrave. It's a very I never felt like Limgrave was overly oppressive. I found that the open area and the open style of it was I was sort of able to cope with that. I never felt overly worried. Maybe the Mistwood because it had those big bears in it. It was once we got to that when we both got sucked up into that the teleporting chest that takes you to somewhere near Caelid, and we come out into Caelid and you see all the red everywhere. I remember me and you were both pretty like shit up by that and just wanted to get the hell out of there as quickly as we possibly could. But basically the whole part of Limgrave is you're headed towards Stormvale Castle, which is the first, I believe they're calling them legacy dungeons.
I really liked Stormvale Castle. I really, really liked that.
You were really, I was about to say you were quite down on it at first.
I was, but I kind of came round eventually. I think the problem...
You needed time to go away and actually properly absorb it, didn't you? Because again, we were just kind of running around together and yeah.
Yeah. Then like after we had played that night, I went back and sort of just felt around it myself and ended up really liking it because it just feels like an older Souls game. Like you've got the whole game, which is obviously the big new open world thing, but then like when you get to these big areas, they feel like an older Souls game, and I just felt a bit more comfortable sort of exploring the castle. Really enjoyed it. The birds will always can get fucked, but apart from the birds that I encountered a few times there, I really
birds with fire as well.
Yeah,
at some points
they're just like massive budgies. Those things,
these big like bulbous kind of toad chins. Yeah. It goes back into the whole you're opening up shortcuts to get sort of routes back to the sites of grace, kicking down ladders, the whole classic style. And I think largely a lot of people are pretty high on most of the legacy dungeons in this game as if they are amongst the best level design that the series has seen. I'm yet to decide if I agree with that. I actually found Stormvale to be a little too open-ended.
Oh, really?
Maybe I did it wrong, but it felt like I was always offered 3 or 4 directions to go, and I could never wrap my head around which way was the right way, and getting really anxious about which.
I totally agree with you because I get that, and I think that's a lot of my anxiety towards the game at large is that it gives you too many. Like, I'm just like, I don't know which way to go first. With Stormvale Castle, maybe this is true of the game on a larger scale, but Stormvale Castle, if you poke in all the areas, eventually you realise that a lot of them loop around and there's not as many areas and ways to go. Like there's to get to that first boss, there's multiple ways, at least 2 ways you can get to that boss.
100%, yeah.
And then there's that area that's got all the people in it, and you think, oh, there's 3 ways. Like one's a dead end, one's towards the boss, and the other one actually just takes you back to the beginning of the level. So there's not as many as it appears. It's just working that out. Because that's the thing is with these Souls games that I find a bit difficult, and sometimes I just find myself like thinking, oh, this is the way to go, and then turning back and going back. Like you'll say you get presented with 3 options. If you think you're actually making progress, stop and go back because the other 2 probably won't be progress, and you need to poke at them first.
That's exactly what I was going to say. When you come to the boss door is when I always get to the point of like, I don't want to do this yet.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna do the boss, probably leave the area, and then miss something that may be important at this stage. But if I come
Hmm.
back 40 hours later, I'm not going to care about it anymore. So yeah, I get it's that need to discover every nook and cranny of it first that I feel, yeah. If there's three different ways to go, I feel like I'm going to go one way and end up at the boss, and then I'm never going to come back here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Um, the end of the Stormvale Castle is where we fight probably the biggest barrier for everybody at the start of this game, which is Godric the Grafted, the first.
I found Margit worse.
Did you
Oddly.
really? So
Yeah.
perhaps perhaps maybe you've done enough grinding for
I
Margit that you
think
were
so. I think
also
by the time I got to
suitably ready for
Godric, yeah, I
Godric.
think by the time I got to Godric, I had like poked that castle to death. I don't, other than that bit we went to today, I think I'd been everywhere in that castle a few times. So by the time I got there, I was ready for it. It's probably
Yeah,
when I was peak like into the game as well. So I was like really, I don't know, like when we play Apex, like sometimes you've got your eye in, and sometimes you're better, and sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're on the edge of your seat and you react better. Sometimes you don't. Maybe that just hit me at the right time.
maybe he is. Yeah, he's certainly no pushover. I mean, maybe eventually it's one of the things. If you ever play this game again, you may find that he actually is. But it's really his second stage where he puts his just basically puts his fist into a dragon's head and then uses that as a weapon that can shoot fire at you and chomp you up.
Mm-hmm.
Really incredible level of like madness of boss design. Just he's going to put a dragon's head on his hand and he's going to bite you with it. Yeah, a really cool boss. I don't know if let's see. So he's basically just the ruler of Stormvale Castle. I don't think he's one of these demigods or whatever. You obviously get the um, Great Rune, Godric's Great Rune,
Mm-hmm.
which you've finally unlocked today, which gives you +5 in every stat once you use
Yeah,
a rune arc,
that's a
which is
game changer.
incredible. I mean, if you think about 5 in every stat, I can't think how many stats there are,
It's nuts.
but you're
That's
effectively
huge.
talking 30 levels it
Yeah,
puts you up by,
that's magic. That's
just
so
evenly
good.
spread out.
Yeah.
Um, so after you've done Stormvale Castle, the most natural progression that you're going to make is into Liurnia of the Lakes, where there is all sorts of crazy danger. Pretty much the biggest of which is the lobsters that I still have not killed a single one of in my
I
playthrough
was
of
getting
this game.
fucked
Have
up by the
you?
lobsters today while I was looking for that Church of Rose or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah.
Vomiting on
Did
you.
you kill any?
Nah, I just ran off. I wasn't bothered about
Yeah.
them. Leave them
I
to it.
wonder. Yeah. I don't know if they're actually ever gonna. I don't know what the souls value is. Whether they're worth grinding at any point. Do you remember when we had a big grind session on
Those
those?
bumhole things, yeah.
Yeah. I think they're called land octopus, aren't they? And we figured out that basically like a strong attack was staggering it. And we
Yeah.
were basically fighting each other for who gets to do the visceral attack over and over again. You must have got so many. I must be so over leveled for the whole game because I've gone back and played so much co-op with
You
you that I've just
basically,
got.
by the end of this game, you'll have played it twice because you'll have played it yourself and then dragged me through the
True.
rest of it. Yeah.
That's true, yeah. Um, Trying to think what's actually worth talking about in this area. Um, Obviously, one thing we haven't talked about is there's lots of minor Erd trees
Mm-hmm.
around that always seem to have the same type of boss, just with a different status effect.
Yeah.
Again, once you're used to how they fight, they're not too bad
No.
to take on. The main area of this part of the game is the Raya Lucaria Academy, although there is also the Caria Manor. Now, apparently, I believe part of the lore of this is something to do with Raya Lucaria Academy is where like the Renala, the queen of the whatever it is,
Mm.
Bayonetta, basically. She was married to Radagon,
Radagast.
I think. Yeah. What's Radagast? Is that from Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
He's like Gandalf,
George R. R.
but
Martin
does
still
animals.
stealing from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, something to do with they were together, they had a kid, but there's also the They were at war with the Carian royal family, which is the manor that's in like the northwest of the Liurnia of the Lakes, where you have to towards it. There's a big giant who shoots that massive arrow at you, and then you get in. There's all those massive hands that come after you. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Sorry.
I can't remember what the final boss of the Carian
I
manor
can't
is.
either, but those hands, man, terrifying things.
The ones that are like kind of underground. It's just got little bits of stubby fingers. Just for those watching on the video, there you go. That's what it looks like. Just finger stubs, and then yeah, all part of the excellent enemy design in this game. But the main area, yes, is the Raya Lucaria Academy, which is basically Hogwarts, as you like to describe it.
Those I was messing about in there today, and those things, yeah, like they'd not done enough damage to like one shot me like they were the first time I went through there, but like they're a pain in the neck. And then when you get close to those things, they just start headbutting you.
What things?
Those like
the guys with the big
massive helmets
stone
on,
head.
yeah.
Yeah.
They looked to me like the Sneak King from that Xbox 360 Burger King game.
I was just about to say the Burger King. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good helmet, actually. That helmet, that if you can get,
I don't think
I
I've
can't
got
remember
it.
where you get it from. No, I was using it for a long time. It gives you 5 intelligence, which I didn't realize. So
Nice.
when I was trying to build my intelligence build up to use the fucking big fuck off magic spell, I didn't realize I could have saved 5 of my levels by wearing that. That was a bit annoying. And I had a talisman that gave my intelligence a boost, and I was like, I really didn't need to pump all of these stats in here.
There's definitely an irony in there.
Done it now.
You were smart as fuck and you just didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
Too smart to know. You're smart.
Too much intelligence for the intelligence.
Inverted, too dumb to be dumb.
Yeah.
What was it we were talking about before? The Dunning-Kruger syndrome. So if you're truly incompetent,
that was when I was going for a job.
True idiot. Yeah, you don't know that you're an idiot because if you're truly incompetent, you don't know you're incompetent.
Yeah.
So if you think you're incompetent, it's a paradox. So you're not incompetent if you even have the notion that you're incompetent.
Ignorance is
There's
bliss.
your lesson.
So if you don't have ignorance, then you're not ignorant.
Exactly.
Yeah, something like that.
And then pull your foreskin back, get to the toilet, and you're
straight over a wall.
Straight over a wall.
Yeah, exactly. Pythagoras' theorem in piss form.
Yeah.
The boss of this area, well, there's kind of 2 bosses, isn't there? There's that fucking flaming dog, which seems to reappear in certain areas that I've been in since then.
There's a couple of times you and I were running about, went round a corner, and that dog was there.
Yeah, just hanging out with some other dogs.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, he sucks. But Renala, I've seen lots of sort of boss countdowns and stuff that say like, oh, this is one of the hardest in the game. I mean, obviously the first phase of the boss, where she is sort of encased in a big ball. It's like Super Monkey Ball.
Yeah. Aye.
Exactly. Like Ai or Mimi, I guess, as she's a female. You've got to kill. I believe they are supposed to be her trying to recreate her daughter. I'm probably wrong, but they're failed experiments to try and.
So it's Resident Evil 8. Is that the one? There's not someone trying to the main bad in Resi 8. She's trying to rebuild her daughter.
Yes. Yeah, and that's why it ends up being sort of pumped into Ethan's wife.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what they are. The little scurrying. I think I've got it written here actually. Let's see.
Rebuild her daughter.
To
me, this boss is almost like very, very close to being like a like for like recreation of the Bloodborne boss. Is it Bloodborne or Dark Souls 3 where you've got all the
Vicars of the Deep?
Vicars of the Deep, yeah.
That is Dark Souls 3. It's a typical like kind of gank squad boss where none of them. There is actually more of those in Bloodborne. You know, the little blue alien dudes.
Yeah.
Where only one of them is going to take damage. Yeah.
And then there's Ram
they
love
a bit
that
of that.
It sprouts out his spiders.
Fucking, I forgot about him. He's an absolute cock-ass, he is.
He's a dick.
Let's see if it says what this is. What they are. Yeah, so I haven't found out whether they. I'm pretty sure it's something to do because she's obviously obsessed with this rebirth thing. That's
Yeah.
what the tears are all about. So the first part of the fight, yes, you are fighting students of some kind, um, to knock her to the ground, and then you fuck her up. Then you get to the second stage, which is, yeah, as David pointed out, very similar to Rom the Vacuous Spider fight in Bloodborne because of the
Was it Rom?
moon in the
I've got obviously like
background.
Gears of War in my head.
Oh, what do you call him?
I've
Ram,
been calling him Ram.
another incredibly annoying boss. But yeah, in this stage, apparently you're not fighting her. You're fighting some sort of fail-safe designed by Rani, her daughter, to protect her. Rani is the blue witch that gives you the horse.
Blue witch
and then
that gives you the horse.
Yeah, she
Oh yeah,
she
must
allows
admit.
you to
Oh yeah,
summon
yeah, yeah.
Torrent.
And she becomes a summons later on in the game, right?
Oh, I'm not sure. That'd be good if she
Pretty
did.
sure I saw that, and she's one of the better ones. Yeah, she's a bit of a tank.
She's up in her little rise, and her quest is probably the biggest quest of the whole game, side quest of the whole game, where you get a different ending if you do that. I think her quest involves the big wolf guy with the big sword. It's very much worth doing, I believe. Yeah, so then in the second stage of the fight, you're fighting her herself. The worst thing that she will do is she summons different types of creatures. She can summon a giant or a pack of wolves, some humanoid thing that's supposed to be the same as a bloodhound knight, and a dragon, which will breathe fire at you. Now, you don't have.
Lovely.
It's probably best not to fight those. You're supposed to just kind of run around in a circle until they bugger off.
Mm-hmm.
But she becomes pretty difficult in this second stage, and the worst part of that obviously is if you fail in the second stage, you then have to go back for the arduous task of running around trying to find the golden students, killing them until apparently you don't actually have to kill them, you only have to attack them to break their concentration so that she then drops out of her golden ball that it smashes and whatever. Did you find this one especially difficult, or did we do this one together?
We did this one together, and I think we destroyed her before she even really got into her second stage. So this whole second stage chat is new to me because we skipped that.
Yeah, the summons are not fun at all.
Because I remember us going into it, and you were like, "Oh, she's not fun." And then we just killed her straight away.
Yeah, we must have had like just stun locked it straight to hell. And of course, the first stage was easier because we could split up and get those two things. Yeah. One of the last things we're going to talk about in this part of the podcast is the Siofra River, which is not necessarily one of the major parts of the game. There's not really a main boss to it. There is like what do you call it? It's like a fucking deer, isn't it? Like a little magical deer. But I really hated the river. That's why we touched on earlier with the balls of electricity for some reason.
Oh man, it's that moment when you come down that lift is utterly unbelievable. And I even quite like that first area where there's like loads of those stone men kind of going about, because like they're slow and deadly, sort of like if you let one get near you, it'll get you.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, like when you get to that, you get that area up by the river, and like there's the guys with the bow and arrows who actually aren't that bad, but when you first encounter them, they are. And then the electric little balls that will one shot you. It just becomes such an annoying area.
Yeah. To me, it's the big blue Vikings with their giant bow and arrow that can just hit you from so far away, and there's so many of them dotted around.
Way downtown.
Especially when you're trying to do that first bit where you have to light the 8 beacons or whatever go fight that.
Yeah.
Then that's how you get in to fight the big deer thing, which I'm pretty sure you and I made again quite quick work of. That was the thing that we're not precious about it on this podcast. We're not going to sit there trying to solo all the bosses or speedrun the game.
No, I don't care.
We're not bothered about. I mean, I would do it. I've not had any human players in really. Maybe I tried to get human players in for Godric because I really struggled with him. But I will summon my mimic tier in every boss. I don't care. It's part of the game.
If the game lets you do it, I don't see an issue with it.
Yeah, but for when you were summoning me, most of the time I've been pretty much double your level.
Yeah.
which made bosses quite academic
Hmm.
and hilariously made us absolutely wreck pretty much everybody who invaded
Oh,
us.
that I've enjoyed that. Just people in,
I actually do enjoy it getting invaded with you now.
yeah, and we just absolutely wreck them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That guy was trying to climb the ladder and I hit him with the old magic spell until he fell off on his ass. And then we just smashed him up. We've had some really good fights there. I don't think we've lost too many other than, like I
Not
said, that
many.
one where
That
they
one
cheated.
we just got absolutely done in.
Yeah. Do you think okay, we discussed this, months, well, not months, but weeks and weeks ago about how when you are doing co-op with a friend, you cannot use your horses.
Yeah, just like traversing's a lot slower.
We don't know. What do you think? Do you think that would be the game would suffer that much if we could use horses? Would it be mad to just have invaders on horses running about? It probably would be.
It would be manic. Yeah, it would be
You
certainly.
would, yeah. I mean, you could probably potentially have to chase them for hours if they can just outpace.
They could be
If
a
they've got
pain in the
enough of a
neck.
distance.
Yeah, they could be a pain in the ass because like they stop you from progressing through the game. Like sometimes, like if there's a so you get invaded, I almost respect the ones that just come at you straight away. It's the ones that don't and you can't find them. And they, or I don't know if they're looking for your what they're doing because it basically inhibits you. Can't rest at sites of grace. You can't go through. It starts like fogging areas off, and I'm just just let
Yeah,
me play the game.
yeah. That's the worst thing about it because people who come in for a fight, fair enough. At least
Mhm.
it's going to be over with. But like you say, if you're going to hide, I remember I had one in. It must have been Dark Souls 3, and he basically kept running away, and he would climb up a ladder
Mhm.
and then run all the way around. And the only way I could get to him would be to climb up the ladder. And as soon as I'd got halfway up the ladder, he would just jump off and run back round again. And it was just like a big loop, and I'm halfway up a ladder. People like that can just get fucked.
Yeah,
People who are going to come in and absolutely wreck me, fine. I'll take the medicine. I'm doing co-op. I guess I deserve it. But don't be a dick and hide. Unless you're doing it to somebody who's not me, and then I can watch it on a YouTube compilation
we'll laugh
later
about it. Yeah.
and enjoy how clever
Mhm.
you are. Um, there are other elements of the Siofra River that I think we'll come back to maybe later. They're not,
Yeah,
it's
because
an underground
that
side area.
yeah, and it's also weirdly split up in that like when you get to the
Yeah,
Mistwood, you can do a bit of it, and then you hit a brick wall, and you've got to go away and come back. So it's sort of
yeah,
it's
exactly.
not a linear start to finish sort of area, is it?
No, because the second part that you can get to is the bit you need to go to get the mimic
Yeah.
tier now yourself. So I guess we could probably talk about Caelid as well, because quite frankly, I don't really want to think about Caelid too much after
I've
this
basically done it.
episode.
I've not killed
Yeah,
Gul'dan yet, but I've done
yeah,
everything else there, I think. So I'm about through it, I think.
yeah. There's a lot of Scarlet Rot. I think the enemy design in Caelid is just batshit insane.
Yeah.
The giant birds, the big T-Rex
Hmm.
dogs.
Oh, they're scary.
Uh,
The giant birds, man. I remember going into that area and seeing them. I was like, oh no.
yeah, yeah. The first impression that area gets when it's all like rotting,
Yeah.
everything's red. I think there's a dragon somewhere near this. No, maybe not actually, but yeah, you've got those giant birds and dogs everywhere. It looks so intimidating. It's probably the most intimidating area, other than if you know there's a place called the Mountaintop of the Giants. You expect there's going to be giants
Yeah, you
constantly
expect
in
that to
there,
be bad.
but um, the sort of the main there's a big area where you've got like the Celia, the town of sorcery that you and I did together. We've got those invisible dickheads, and that
Oh
leads
yeah.
into a big um, Scarlet Rot Lake area, I think,
Hmm.
which I don't know if you've actually done. There's a
Don't think
guy. Have you
so.
done the one? There's like a boss fight, and he's in the middle of sort of a big open tree area, and he's like stood in the middle. He's like a big knight, and he's got loads of mates. You
I
can
don't
cheese
think
the
so.
shit out of him. You can just climb up the side of the tree and shoot arrows at him,
I
and he
don't think
can't
I've done
touch
that.
you. That's probably worth going back and having a look at as well if,
Hmm.
in your current state. The As David just sort of touched on, the boss of the area is Radan, which is far and away the most visually impressive boss fight, I think, in the game. At least that I've seen so far.
Matt is so good. Like I hate fight. I absolutely hate him, but like from a visual perspective, it is so good. Even when you get up close to him, he's got that little tiny little donkey that he rides about on.
Yeah, yeah. He's something to do with he's got like some sort of special magic to do with flying about or stars or something. He's called Star Scourge Radahn. He Well, it says that the description of him apparently the famed Red Lion General has been reduced to a mindless beast, devouring corpses in the dunes. Using gravity magic, there you go, with extreme skill along with his brute strength, earning him the title of Star Scourge. He has a very odd area. He's inside Redmane Castle, but I think it's called Redmane Castle, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much totally empty, aside from a couple of those fucking lions with the Wolverine claws and do they breathe fire? Or am I imagining that?
I don't know. I cheesed the life out of them though.
Oh, me too, big time. I was trying to. You got that little kind of balcony in the corner, haven't you, with some steps up there, and I was just getting them to come over to me, and then running up the stairs and hitting them because they couldn't climb up the stairs. Yeah, they suck. But the whole area is totally kind of empty, and you get to this. There's some sort of. I think you have to do enough of the game beforehand, maybe to set this part in motion.
That bit to me almost felt a bit like Mass Effect 3 when you were like coming to the end of the final boss, because you walk in and there's all these people that you've met before and you're like chatting to them, oh, you're finally here, are you ready for this, like there's some big battle coming. Then they don't bother coming with you, they're just but yeah, I think I need to do more, because I've seen people like getting like pot men and stuff, like summoning. Have you not
got Iron Alexander in there yet? Then?
No, I've not met him.
Yeah, because he was in there for me. Him and Blade, the wolf guy, was in there.
I've got the wolf guy.
The good thing about that is obviously you can continually respawn them after they die. You can just keep bringing them back. So effectively, you could do well. I think we've both seen it when we've watched the Iron Pineapple do his no hit pacifist run, where he just runs around spawning them over and over again and just stays away. It's probably a lot more doable than if you actually try to. I remember the first time I fought him, I actually didn't do it on my horse because I didn't think I'd be able to use the horse, and he completely annihilated me. But once if you use the horse, you do enough summons, you keep away. He's still hard, but he is, as we said, just an incredible boss to kind of look at, especially the part where he decides to become a comet or a meteor.
Yeah.
Just fucking aims himself at you from miles away.
I've seen him do it.
That's so Japanese, man. That's so fucking anime.
There myself yet.
And this is the problem, is that I can't help you with this because you won't be able to use the horse, and we'll have no chance.
Yeah.
You absolutely need that. So there's going to be somebody available at the round table hold. Right, this is it now. Yes, now I remember. So this is all of this area, this boss fight is part of the Ranni quest line. So once you've defeated him, somebody shows up at the round table hold. Nokron Eternal City becomes available, which is the second part of the Siofra River that we've just discussed. So that's the next bit you would go to. You meet Blade in there. He wants to go take a look, and then Ranni the Witch will then go back to her rise once you've done this. So that's how you kind of set things in motion towards this. Gets you a good ending if you do this part of the game. But absolutely not an easy boss. One of the hardest, but just looks so damn cool, and is really worth it for his armor set, which I am still wearing right now. Probably nothing else worth covering for this part. I think that's about as far as you've got in the game.
Yeah, I was trying to think. There's the south area of the island, but there's not a lot. Like this far, the south area of the starting area. Does that make sense?
Is that where a lot of jellyfish are? Is that where that is?
Yeah, there's a bunch of jellyfish there. There's the bridge with the exploding trebuchet on it. There's a few bosses. There's a couple jails that you encounter that are quite fun.
I quite like the jails. Yeah, I think I've
Yeah,
done all the ones I've seen thus far now.
yeah, I was enjoying
I
them
think.
because they seem a bit more. My favorite bosses in the sort of Soul series have always been the more human-sized ones, rather than
Yeah.
these massive things that fly about like comets or have all these magical powers. Or it's just
I
a
mean,
personal
there's definitely a place
preference.
for them,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
There's always a good mix.
so I do enjoy the jails, because it's just a bit more what I enjoy from these games. But yeah, I think that's about it. Like you're saying, I really enjoyed Stormvale Castle. Patches, he's not betrayed me yet.
I killed him. What a dickhead!
You killed him.
I didn't realize who he was until I'd killed him, and then, well, that's the end of that. I got his bell thing for the bell maidens in the Round Table Hold.
Mm.
I realized what I'd done. There's a whole quest line with him, and I've ruined it.
Yeah, he's appeared a couple of times with me, and I've actually been able to summon him for a boss. I just can't. Oh, I've been able to summon him for a boss, and I can't think who.
Find out.
I wanted to say it was Radan, but I'm not sure I would have noticed.
He might be there, hanging around.
Hmm.
Because isn't it just that when you meet him, he does start a fight with you, doesn't he? But then he stops halfway through and
Yeah,
says, "You
well, yeah, you arrive in a room, and he's like, "What are you trying to nick my stuff for?" And then comes down to fight you, and then he tries to yield because you batter him, and then turns out he's Patches, who apparently is a famous guy throughout all the Souls games who will
yes,
betray you at some point. But that's not a spoiler because
yeah,
he's done it in every single game, basically.
yeah, yeah." If he doesn't betray you at this point, it's they've softened up, and it's not the right, it's not real Patches
Yeah.
anymore. He's a spider in Bloodborne. He's got like loads of little colored gems that lead towards an item, and then he
Uh,
kicks you off the side and pushes you into. Do you remember that?
no, I remember the only bit I remember is there was someone. I'm sure it was. I thought it was where Patches did it, but maybe it's something I'm misremembering. There's an area that's got these massive walls. Am I thinking of Dark Souls 3 again? Big tall walls, and in it there's like bits of water, and there's massive enemies in it, and you've got to try and run. Oh, I'm not even explaining myself properly. I'll just leave that out.
Okay. Let's have a look. See if we can find where you can be summoned, or if he can be. Uh, 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 uh. This wiki's so full of stuff. Oh, he goes to Volcano Manor apparently.
I wonder if maybe I didn't summon him. Maybe I just saw him there then. So apparently, yeah, he can be.
Apparently, he's gonna.
Oh yeah. Fun fact: if you summon Patches in Radan fight, let me give you a fun fact that I'm about to find out. If you summon Patches in Radan fight, he will watch the fight from a distance while he is wielding his shield, and he won't join in the fight. After a couple of seconds, he will return to his world. So that must have been the Radan fight I saw him.
What an absolute
Absolute
shitheel.
dickhead.
He apparently in Mount Gelmir, he leaves a trail of rainbow stones again and tries to push you off a fucking cliff. Apparently, if you speak to him, he says he's doing nothing suspicious at all. He says you'll never reach Volcano Manor and pushes you off, and then obviously you do. Volcano Manor, you started that.
Yeah, I've started that, and
Where
I've
you get
started
to go
doing
and invade
the sort
NPCs.
of
I really like that.
fake invasions. Yeah, I'm enjoying those. They're good fun.
Have you spoken very much to the girl in there? You know, the girl who gave you the invitation to Volcano Manor. Have you
Yeah, a
spoken
good
to her
bit.
a lot yet?
Yeah.
Have you found out anything about her yet?
Not really that I can
Okay,
think
I'll
of.
leave it at that. We'll come back to that next
Okay.
time.
Excited
You will
for
find
that.
something out about her. I've done the boss of Volcano Manor now. He's a bit of a shit, but he's very similar to. Do you remember Yorm in Dark Souls 3? We had to get the Stormbreaker sword and basically just
Yes.
you only use it for that one fight, and it
Mhm.
basically shoots like wind.
Yeah.
It's basically that again. But it has two bloody phases. It's hard
You're
as
not
fuck.
as split on this game as me, are you? You're just
No, I mean, it does wear me down every now and again, and there'll be
Mm.
times like today when I go really far to an area since the sight of grace, die, and just think I can't be asked now. But I think this is easily the best From Software game,
I think yeah. I
other
think if
than
I'm
Bloodborne.
yeah, I think if
I
I'm
don't think it beats that for me.
if I'm speaking objectively, I think it's the best game. It's not my favorite though. Bloodborne's still my favorite, and then Dark. It's
Me
maybe
too.
even my third favorite. I'll may have changed my like. Bear in mind, I've not even finished this game yet, so I may change my mind at some point, and it may just click at some point, and it'll be off, and it will be my favorite. But at the moment, it's probably third. I think, and I know that's controversial. People like Dark Souls, so that's probably not Bloodborne. That's not controversial. But I think I like Dark Souls 3 a lot more than people like Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, I think people kind of thought of Dark Souls 3 as being something of a too reverential of its own series, like
Mm.
too many callbacks and things like that.
See, I didn't get any of those, so maybe that's why
No,
I
me
liked
neither.
it. But
Yeah.
it was more the setting in Dark Souls 3. Like I'm more of a fantasy, traditional fantasy sword and shield dude to even like the Victorian or
Mm.
sci-fi. I'll always default to fantasy in terms of preference, and that was just like right. The aesthetics of Dark Souls 3 was right up my street.
Yeah.
There's elements of this game that are, but then there's also the weird, mad stuff as well.
Yeah. Um, I just think this game is so much more accessible than all the other ones, especially after coming at this from Sekiro,
Mm.
which is so hard. That's easily the hardest Souls game is
Mhm.
Sekiro, and this one, although it is hard, and it can at times be the hardest game you'd have ever played because if you go too far, you're going to
Yeah.
die in one hit. But there's more scope to come back once you've leveled up than in any of the other games because they were so linear. You really didn't have anywhere else you could go.
I
Whereas
think I
here,
would
you
caveat
have.
that with it is it's the most accessible if you know what you're doing with these games. I do think like the breadth of these games. If you were brand new, this was like your first Souls game. I can see why
Yeah.
you would just be lost, completely
I mean, I
lost.
have spoken to some people who've played it for a couple of hours and been like, nah. So you're
Mm.
probably right. But yeah, maybe that is the case. But in terms of the stakes of Marika that allow you to come back straight out of a boss door,
Yeah,
obviously having a horse and a map that we have not had before, you're able to put
yeah,
markers down. Um, I'm sure there's other things that I can't think of right now, but there's a lot more the sort of consideration for the player in
yeah.
this game than it has had
100%.
ever before,
Yeah.
where it's less trying to be evil than it has
Mm.
been, and the scope that you have to just go off, come back, is unparalleled in these games, and it seems to have done that Breath of the Wild transition from something that was more linear action adventure into a full blown open world RPG
Mm.
that does it the way that in your wildest dreams you probably this is how you would have wanted them to do it. If you thought to yourself, how the hell are you going to make Dark Souls open world and not ruin the formula of it? Well, this is apparently how, because it
Yeah.
does it so cleverly.
Told
I
cleverly.
just what an odd player to think of.
Yeah, I know. Don't.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, like I said earlier on, you're able to respec your character. There's another thing there, and all the builds are viable. There's so many weapons and sorceries and incantations, and there's just so much to it
Mm.
that I'm still really enjoying it. I'm really compelled to get further into it, but at the same
Good.
time, I know I'm in for a world of pain, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that it's only going to get harder, and it's already pretty hard, and I've probably played 100 hours in already. Obviously, the lore is not necessarily any more easy to understand, not necessarily any better. So there's that as a black mark against it, but it hasn't stopped my enjoyment of playing it
Mm.
in any way. I'm used to it now.
Yeah.
Have you got any more final thoughts?
Any more for any more? No, I think we've covered about that.
We'll have some lore next time around because my friend Will from work, hello Will, is going to send us some lore for the end
Oh,
game
excellent.
areas. So hopefully he'll have some. Well, we might even get. I mean, I said he could come on if he wants, but no, cut that. So yeah, we'll have a better insight for some of it. I'm definitely going to listen to Bonfire Side chat and
Oh
get
yeah.
their lore stuff, but you have to
Mhm.
pay for all of it.
Oh, you got to pay for their podcast now, do you?
Yeah,
Or just the lore stuff? I mean, fair enough. They're making
yeah.
stuff. Don't if they want paid for it.
I mean, I think like it's a monthly Patreon subscription, and it's not going to be a lot to get the episodes. So I probably
Nah.
only have to subscribe for a month, and then I'll listen to them all.
Yeah, exactly. Just plow right through.
Exactly. Hopefully we can give David a leg back up again into enjoying the game by the
Hopefully,
next
yeah,
time
we
we
come
do
back
this.
to Elden Ring Part 2, whenever that is, and I've changed my mind, and I'm in, boys. I'm in. But we'll see. I think so. I think I will. Like I was saying, I started to enjoy it again today. I've had a few kicks in the teeth over the last few times I've played it. Hopefully I can have some good runs now and finally make some progress. But we will see.
Yeah, it's a shame that you have to Google how to have direction.
Mm.
There is obviously a huge amount of scope for discovery in this game.
Mm.
That is what it really wants you to do. But at the same time, wandering aimlessly and getting killed a lot is not going to be fun for a lot of people. And
No, not
sometimes
really.
there's that lingering feeling that I've certainly had of if I'm finding it this much of a struggle, I've obviously missed something, or I've not built this character correctly, or I whatever, and I don't know how to rectify that because the game will never help me. I have to then get help from the internet, which is a shame. But at the same time, does anything feel like as much of an event as like a shared discourse zeitgeist
Not
event
really. No,
in
it's a
gaming
unique
as a
thing in
new
gaming, isn't
Souls
it?
game?
Yeah. It's sort of this pillar thing where people just sort of come together and work together.
Yeah, to figure out what the story is, and then
Yep.
as well to kind of find all the secrets. And people love
Yeah.
to challenge themselves in these games in ways that you don't see with everything else because
Mhm.
there's an already inherent level of difficulty there. People just want to one up each other or outgame the game and say, well, I'm going to do it without ever hitting anybody, or I'm going to do it at level 1 the whole way through, or whatever. So there's never anything, truly quite like a From Software release for the gaming sphere to discuss almost usually universally positively and just get excited about what they've discovered or how they've played it or showing off clips and things. And that's what I love about these games so much.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
So what are we going to do next time? Are we going to go the double header?
I was thinking about that. Yeah,
Medal of Honor.
I think probably that next, right?
Yeah. So we have. Well, you explain it. I've done a lot of talking.
Basically, I mean, we haven't actually ironed this out properly, but we're going to have a bit of a dip. So take this all with a pinch of salt. But basically, next time round, we're going to have a bit of a different podcast. So we're trying to think of ways that we could perhaps cover more games a bit more quickly, so that maybe if we're like with Elden Ring, for example, we're finding it not quite as plain sailing as we thought, or we just need a bit more time on something. We were trying to brainstorm ways of still being able to bring a podcast to you guys that in a bit of a quicker form. I'm not sure we've totally ironed that out yet, and I'm not sure the way we've started yet is necessarily going to be quicker. All we've done is add work to our plate, but we'll see, and we'll give it a go, and we'll try it out, and we'll see how it goes, and we can iron it out or drop it or change things and tweak it to how we think it works for a slightly different podcast. So like if you imagine the deep dives as like the A-tier podcast, we're going to have another look at. We're going to bring in the next podcast. I think we're going to bring 2 games to the table. So we're going to be is it Castle Wolfenstein? Is that what it's called, or is it just Wolfenstein? What's the name of that? Wolfenstein 3D,
I think.
Yeah, the sort of one with the blue walls. So that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, the original.
And that, and we're also playing Medal of Honor Frontline. Is that right? No, Frontline. Yeah,
they are both. Yes, yeah, both of which celebrate anniversaries this year. So that is why they're being played. I believe Wolfenstein is 30 years old, and I believe Frontline is 20 years old.
Yeah. So like interestingly, both of them. I've played both of them recently. Both of them feel old, and both of them are first-person shooters, and they're from different first-person shooters era. So hope is that we'll be able to stimulate some interesting discussion in how the the genre is even as progressed, and how even these games sat within their genre when they came out, I think is going to be an interesting talking, and obviously a bit about the games themselves. But yeah,
So you've played some Wolfenstein.
a little bit, yeah.
How does it? Can you play it with dual sticks on Steam?
I was playing mouse and keyboard, so I don't know.
Good. Okay. I'll have to figure it out myself.
Yeah,
I just don't believe that it's going to let me do it. It probably is going to make me do mouse and key. Well, mouse.
There must
Sorry,
be
keyboard.
there
Even.
must be a way to do it, because you can play Doom with a controller these days. Surely you can do it.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of. How is it? Is it enhanced in any way, or is it just like horrible, shitty pixels?
Yeah, horrible shitty pixels.
Okay. Interesting. I'll try it out after this, I think, before I go to bed.
Yeah, interested to see what you think about
Go
it.
kill Hitler, then go to bed. It's all in a day's work for a winner
All
as
day's
you.
work for old Alex, yeah. Bit of housekeeping, I guess. If you want to send us an email to awinnerisyoupod@gmail.com. You can check us out on YouTube, which is A Winner Is You Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at DavidSmiley1. You can follow Alex on Twitter at SuperThrillix. And you can follow the podcast at Winner Is You Pod. I think that's it. Is there anything I've missed, Alex?
No.
Thank you for listening. This has been episode 37 of the Resurrected Winners You podcast. Is it not 37? 38 of the Resurrected Winners You podcast. I've been Dave, he'd been Alex, and I'm out.
Keep maidens.